Thank you guys for joining me today. Unafraid, Reister or Wrong, George Reister here. Thank you guys for joining me. It's 2018. We are back every single morning. Make sure you guys join us. Like the feed, share the feed. Don't forget the podcast is available for download on YouTube. Well, not only on YouTube, but on iTunes, and it will be on TuneIn this week as well for everybody who wants to join in and whoever wants to watch. So we started out yesterday with the obvious reaction to the college football playoffs, to the top two games that were going on. And that was obviously the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. And we couldn't forget about the Peach Bowl with UCF as well. But here's what we got for you guys today. First of all, the biggest impact on the Rose Bowl game, it was not Sony Michel and it was not Nick Chubb. Those are the two things. That's the first thing. Second thing is, where does Baker Mayfield go in the draft? Because I said it last night. I'm saying it again today. His draft stock took a tumble last night. Next thing, how does the Pac-12 get back into the college football playoff? And who is going to be their best bet into getting in there the quickest? And we'll go over that. And also, Isaiah Thomas, he joins the Cleveland Cavaliers after being injured. And I'm going to tell you, are they contenders? Are they pretenders? And how they can get better. I have an idea for a trade that would make the Cleveland Cavaliers significantly better. Thank you guys for joining me. George Reister. Again, please make sure you swipe up, share the feed now. Okay, so we're going to get into the Rose Bowl a little bit last night. Obviously, it was an epic game. The hardest way to lose, the absolute hardest way to lose. Like, you would rather get blown out 54-0 than to lose a game in double overtime 48-54 that you had wrapped up. Like, no way on earth do you want to lose a game like that. That's like a soul crushing like loss. But a few takeaways I had from the game, I went over those last night, but you know, you sleep on it, you wake up and you got fresh ideas about this. And I was thinking, like, never in my life have I ever seen a college football game where a team was able to run their way back into a game. Like, never have I seen it. I have not seen that at all. And obviously, Sony Michel, Nick Chubb are going to get a lot of credit for being the most impactful player in the game, but that's not true. That is not who the most impactful player in the game was. The most impactful player in the game was Roquan Smith, the linebacker number 3 from Georgia. I mean, damn, the kid was special. Every single time that Oklahoma was getting ready to make a play, he made a play. He made a play. But, like, let's look at this even from a larger standpoint, which is what we like to do instead of breaking down the minutia of a play here or a play there. I mean, like, how did this comeback happen? This comeback happened because this is what Oklahoma does. They used to call it stoopsing when Bob Stoops was the coach, but now his brother's the defensive coordinator. They used to call it stoopsing. It's no longer stoopsing. This is just what Oklahoma does. And Georgia was the same way. They would lose games they were supposed to win. And they would lose big games. That's what Georgia did. But now somebody had to win the game. And when you look at Oklahoma's failures, and you look at Georgia's failures under Mark Richt, like in terms of losing big games that not only you're favored to win, but that you're supposed to win, this was like a big coronation for Georgia. But it was also like more of the same for Oklahoma. And it came down to me. It came down to coaching for Oklahoma. Because while Georgia is good running the football, Georgia is very good running the football. However, I went back and watched more of the game last night after I got off of Unafraid Show. After I finished the reaction, went back and looked at it. And the reason why Georgia was able to run the ball so well is because Oklahoma was not well coached. They were jumping around blocks. They weren't holding the point of attack. Because if anybody knows anything about stopping the run in football, this is just a little bit of education for anybody who does not properly understand. Some people think it's about making plays, doing all this and that. It's not. Playing good defense is about keeping your gap integrity. Like, everybody has a gap. Sometimes people have 2 gaps, they have 1 gap. But once somebody slides over, tries to be nosy, trying to make a play instead of staying in their gap, that's how big runs happen. And that's exactly what happened in the Oklahoma-Georgia game. You got to give Georgia credit, but the majority of the credit lies with Oklahoma and their coaching. They did not have their guys prepared to stay in their lanes and stay in their gaps. This was just poorly coached defensive football by Bob Stoops' brother. It just was. Like, there's no other way to make it to make it better. There's no way. There's no excuse. And then the other thing is, in addition to the Oklahoma coaching, their defensive coaching, because they were not like Oklahoma's recruits and Georgia recruits are like this. It's not like there's big talent disparity. This is coaching. This is gap integrity. And Georgia made Oklahoma play in a phone booth. And Georgia and Oklahoma could not maintain their discipline to stop the run. They got nosy. They stuck their nose where it didn't belong, and every time they did it, 79 yards, 59 yards, 37 yards, 40 yards. That's the difference in the game. It was not Georgia has these magical athletes. Oklahoma had the best quarterback. Oklahoma had the best running back in the game. Yes, Oklahoma had the best running back in the game. Because while Nick Chubb and Sony Michel are going to get a lot of credit, Oklahoma's Rodney Anderson went for 26, 201, and 2 touchdowns. He had the best day out of all the running backs. Like, let's not get that confused. So while the Oklahoma coaches failed, another player who did not live up to expectations was Baker Mayfield. Part of that was because the coaches took the ball out of his hand during crunch time. Like, you have the Heisman Trophy winner. Let him be great. The coaches didn't let him be great, but he wasn't exactly spectacular himself. He just wasn't. Overall, I would give Baker Mayfield a B at best. At best, I got to give Baker Mayfield a B. But he do 23 for 35, 200 and some yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The most spectacular play by a quarterback in the game was by Jake Fromm. It was not by Baker Mayfield. Like, there was no Heisman moment. There was no special play that Baker Mayfield made. Some people are going to point to the reverse touchdown at the end of the first half. No. The play was made by the receiver, Lamb. Came around, act like he was going to run, toss it to Baker Mayfield. He just had to stand there and catch it. There was nothing special done by Baker Mayfield on that play. But the Jake Fromm play that was special was on the game-tying drive. He's getting ready to get sacked, eludes the rush, dumps it down to Michel, lets Michel do his job. Throughout the whole game, that was the best play made by either quarterback. That was the best play. Like, you can't deny it. This is what happened. And while Baker Mayfield, I have said it, I believe that he needs to go to the Cleveland Browns because he's an overcomer. The Browns are down in the dumps. This is exactly where a walk-on at Texas Tech, two scholarship offer guy goes into the Browns, and he resurrects the franchise because they match, because they're like simpatico. However, his draft stock took a tumble last night. I'm not getting ready to sugarcoat it, because when you look at what Deshaun Watson did in the playoffs, when you look at what even Marcus Mariota did against Florida State, and then played well against Ohio State as well. The defense just didn't show up. His wide receivers didn't show up. Like, when you look at that, and what Jameis Winston did in the championship. These are what those quarterbacks do. So guess what? I'm a little bit afraid for Baker Mayfield. I am. If I'm an NFL draft, if I'm drafting, I'm like, ooh, there's nothing special there. There was nothing special there. And he also ran himself into some sacks. Ran himself into sacks. Like, this wasn't just a Georgia defense was excellent in the second half. No, this was Baker Mayfield was bad at times. He was seeing stuff that wasn't there. And then there's the question is, there are some short quarterbacks. There's Russell Wilson, there's Drew Brees, both short quarterbacks. And when I say short, I mean under 6'2". Short quarterbacks. And they find a way to make a way through the line and find throwing lanes and all that. Baker Mayfield got a little bit of pressure on him, and he didn't look like he could see. So that's why I will go back to my original rankings for the quarterbacks coming out in the draft. You guys make sure you swipe up, share the feed. You watch an Unafraid show, George Reister, right now. So my original grades, Josh Rosen, #1. Best quarterback in the draft, no doubt about it, period. I'm talking about draft eligible guys, not just guys who have declared, because nobody has declared right now except for Josh Allen from Wyoming. So Josh Rosen, #1. Unequivocal, best quarterback in college right now, period, hands down. #2, Sam Darnold. I have been on record saying that Sam Darnold needs to go back to school because he's a turnover machine right now. He's a turnover machine. And if you are a turnover machine, you have to make sure you stop that if you want to be a successful NFL quarterback. #3, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, yes, I do think Lamar Jackson is going to be a better pro than Baker Mayfield, especially after last night. That concerned me. Last night concerned me in terms of his NFL potential and projection. #4, Baker Mayfield. #5, Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State. Kid throws the ball all over the place. Good quarterback. Ryan Finley from NC State. And then Josh Allen from Wyoming. That's the way it goes. Like, that's the way it goes. Like, there's under no circumstances am I taking Josh Allen before I take any of these other guys. Not happening. No way, no how. So I went over the rundown a little bit today, and now we're going to get to the Pac-12. You guys swipe up, share the feed, like the feed, continue the conversation. So the Pac-12, the question I got asked a couple times this week was, what's going on with the Pac-12? Pac-12 can't get back in the playoff. What's going on? How can the Pac-12 get back in the playoffs? And who will be the first to do that? Not just get in the playoffs, but who can get in the playoffs and who can win from the Pac-12? Here's what we got. So obviously, I mean, let's just start with the people who don't have a shot anytime soon from the Pac-12. Let's just start there. The Pac-12 teams: Colorado, Utah, Colorado, Utah, Oregon State, and Arizona State, no chance anytime soon. I mean, they can't even think about the college football playoff. They don't have the talent. They don't have anything. They have nothing to be even considering the college football playoff. Don't even worry about it for those teams. Next team up is Cal. Cal doesn't have this problem for like 5 years. An interesting part about the Cal coaching situation is Justin Wilcox. When Oregon was interviewing their head coaches, Justin Wilcox, who I played with at Oregon, people thought that he might potentially get the Oregon job. Guess what, people? I have news to report. He turned down the Oregon interview. Not because he didn't want the job, because he said he didn't feel like he deserved it. And I thought that was crazy. I wanted to throw stuff at him. Not just because I thought he could potentially get the job and do well. No. In life, if somebody gives you a great opportunity and you feel like you may not know how to do it, take it and then figure it out. Like, you don't turn down the Oregon job to stay at Cal making $1.5 million. You don't do it. Like, you figure it out, bro. So Cal is a mile away from winning the championship. Like, don't even have to talk about them right now. Arizona, Rich Rodriguez, great coach, doesn't have the horses. Cannot win. So who is the closest teams to winning a championship? Obviously, there's Washington, because Washington went to the college football playoff last year. They're coached by Chris Peterson. Oh, they supposedly have a great quarterback. No, they don't. If you are out of the Pac-12, you are not winning a championship without a great quarterback. It's not happening. Like, it's already tough enough to win without a great quarterback. But with a great quarterback, but if you don't have it, not happening. So Washington is like fool's gold to me right now. Chris Peterson is a great coach, but until they get a top-tier quarterback, they have no chance to win a championship. They just don't. Finally, people saw this season what I said at the end of last year. Jake Browning was fool's gold. He's a decent college quarterback, but he's not the guy that can take you over the edge. He's just not in any way. And also, Washington's schedule, it doesn't test them to be battle ready. Like, they're not battle ready. When they got in the college football playoff last year, they had not played a good enough non-conference or anybody in the non-conference that could prepare them for a different style of play than what they were going to see outside of the Pac-12. Then they ran into Alabama. Jake Browning was just not good enough, because you need a top-tier quarterback to beat Alabama. Next program up is UCLA. UCLA has a chance. Well, actually, UCLA probably, I would say, has the best chance of getting in the college football playoff and winning it sooner than any other Pac-12 team. Sooner. Because UCLA already has talent. They're not short on talent. They were short on the coaching and the execution to be able to bring a national championship to Westwood. So, and you know, Chip has the big balls. He's a big game coach in college. He's a guy who's not going to be afraid to go for it on fourth down, even in his own territory if he believes he's got a good play. He's not going to try to salt the game away like Oklahoma did yesterday. And there's no run 3 times in a row. It is, oh, I'm putting the ball in my Heisman Trophy candidate's hand like he did with Marcus Mariota. That's a fact. Like, come on, man. So Chip is going to be able to recruit at UCLA. He's going to be able to win there. Next team up that can win. The next most likely team to win a championship out of the Pac-12 and how they get there is Stanford. Stanford and David Shaw, like, once he gets a top-tier quarterback, I know Andrew Luck was special, but he also did it with the kid who's in Cleveland. I forgot his name right now, but he was also good with that dude as well. So David Shaw at Stanford, they're physical enough. They were a little bit young this year, particularly in the secondary, but that's a good football team. Stanford is a team that can go in the college football playoff and make some noise potentially next year if they get good play out of their quarterback. The next team most likely to win a championship. So I said UCLA is most likely the team that's going to win a championship out of the Pac-12. Then I go to Stanford. Then the next school I go to is Oregon. The reason why I say Oregon is because of Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal came from Alabama. He coached Nick Saban's offensive line and go up against their defensive line. He understands their scheme. He understands how to play the game and how to win big games. You dominate people on the line of scrimmage, and then you try to play mistake-free football. And if you have a playmaker like Herbert at quarterback, because Oregon's got a special quarterback. They've got talent. They're getting better on defense. Recruiting's better. So that's a team that can turn around and win sooner. The fourth team most likely to win it in the Pac-12, is USC. Why is USC number 4? Coaching. Coaching is the reason why USC is number 4. Because I do not believe, it's hard for me to believe that Clay Helton is a coach who can win a championship. It just is. When you looked at USC's offense this year and Sam Darnold, they were electric at times. They played very poorly in the first half. Like, over half of their games in the first half, they were poor. Like, they were average, pedestrian at best, defensively and offensively. But then their talent took over in the second half. And you cannot rely on your talent exclusively to win games. And Clay Helton has not shown, in 2 years, he's not shown that special and innate ability to get more out of his team than just the talent alone dictates. USC is the most talented team in the Pac-12. However, they don't win all the games that they should and in the fashion that they should. They have, if you, truth be told, their running backs at USC are as good as Georgia's. They are. Ronald Jones II, fantastic running back. He were running behind Georgia and that coaching staff, he would be even more highly regarded than he is. That's the truth. So those are the teams most likely to win it out of the Pac-12. And it has to, because I've been critical of the playoff system, like continuously, that the SEC has manipulated with its poor schedules. But at the end of the day, you have to give them credit. When they show up, they win. Despite the schedule, despite all that, when the SEC shows up in the big games, they win the big games more often than they don't. Not only just the playoff games, but the BCS games. I didn't always believe, and everybody would always say that there wasn't the 2 best teams always playing. However, when the SEC got in the game, they would win the game. Whether it was Auburn, whether it was Alabama, that's who, like, they closed the deal. Like, you can't be mad at that. They closed it. So while it is the manipulation of the system, when other conferences get in, they can't blow it. Like, you have to close the deal. And the Big 12 has shown cannot close the deal right now because Oklahoma couldn't close it. When Oklahoma was in it 2 years ago, they got boat raced by Alabama. Couldn't close it. The Big 10 showed they could close it with Ohio State. That's the truth. The next and last thing up is we got the Cavs. The Cavs are at full strength, sort of, starting today. Isaiah Thomas is back today. And now the question is, with Isaiah Thomas back, are the Cavs now a championship contender, and can they beat Golden State? The answer is no. The answer is no. Golden State would literally is like a sprained ankle away from the Cavs being able to compete. They just are. They are going to need a sprained ankle by somebody named Kevin Durant or somebody named Steph Curry for them to not be able to win a championship. Because Draymond Green is a little bit expendable right now only because Jordan Bell is playing so well. But I did have you have to look at the Cavs from not just a short-term perspective, but a long-term perspective in terms of this year, next year, all that. Guy I know, Brian Kalabrowski. He had a fantastic idea. Wrote about it in USA Today. How to make the Cavs better and turn them into contenders right now, and I thought it was genius. So, Isaiah Thomas is going to want a long-term contract and a long-term deal. under no circumstances am I paying a guy under 6 feet tall max money who's over 30 years old. Not happening. Because when you are a short guy, when you're a little guy, you rely on your athleticism to score points. Like you rely on that. Now he's got a hurt hip. He's over 30. He's on the decline in terms of his athleticism. Yet, no. You do not pay Isaiah Thomas max money. You don't do it. So how do you solve that situation? You trade him. I know it doesn't feel good. I know it doesn't feel all nice and cuddly on your insides, trading Isaiah Thomas after the Celtics just threw him away too. So what? He's not your player. Let him go. So what you do is, if you're the Cavs, you trade Isaiah Thomas and Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson is giving you absolutely no value offensively. He's like an 8-and-8 guy, plays good defense, but nothing special, spectacular, or extraordinary. So you take Isaiah Thomas and Tristan Thompson and you trade them to where? The Los Angeles Clippers. The Los Angeles Clippers are trying to have a fire sale on DeAndre Jordan. So what do you get back? You get back DeAndre Jordan and you get back the journeyman Lou Williams. How does this work for the Cavs? It turns the Cavs into instant contenders. You take DeAndre Jordan, put him on the Cavs. He doesn't get in the way in terms of defensively any more than Tristan Thompson does. He's going to grab more rebounds. He's going to block more shots. He's going to score more points. DeAndre Jordan's better than Tristan Thompson. And then you bring in Lou Williams. Lou Williams is a microwave. And one of the problems that the Cavs have continuously had is not being able to score when LeBron's off the floor. You bring Lou Williams in, guaranteed you will get some buckets while LeBron's on the sideline. You can rest LeBron and Lou Williams will fill it up. This is what he's done his whole career. I mean, like, this is like young Jamal Crawford, but maybe even a little better scorer. Like, this is who Lou Williams is. He can give you 50, steal. So the Cavs would benefit greatly from that trade. It might cost you that first round pick to get it, but you've secured yourself in terms of the right now. And then what do? DeAndre Jordan's going to want a max contract. You let his ass walk too. You let him walk. You have to be willing to do that if you are the Cavs. You're not going to entice LeBron to stay. So you have to try to win now because this is your last opportunity. LeBron's walking out the door in the offseason. So trade Isaiah Thomas and Tristan Thompson. Maybe a second round pick if you can get it. If not, you got to give up a first. Trade it to the Clippers for DeAndre Jordan and Lou Williams. Tell me that that's not the best trade that you have heard for the Lakers. I'm sorry, for the Clippers. Tell me that that's not the best trade that you've heard for them. They can't do any better than that. There's no way that they can do better than that. Both teams benefit. The Cavs benefit right now, and then they benefit in the long term by Isaiah Thomas not walking out the door in free agency this year for nothing. This is a great deal. And then the Clippers get some salary cap relief, and then they can keep Isaiah Thomas if they want him. Sounds like a fantastic idea to me. And you have put LeBron in a situation to where he can continue to be the point guard. He can continue to be the point guard. He can continue to dominate the ball, continue to do all that, and he can get his minutes down. He's 15 years in the league. There's only so many laps in those legs. There's only so much tread on the tires. So if you can get LeBron James minutes down, then that'll win. Somebody said, I heard it, but I don't like it for Cleveland nor the Clippers. Why would this not be a good trade for the Cavs? For the Cavs. You get rid of Isaiah Thomas, who is an undersized guy who's going to want a max contract after this year. He hasn't played for you. You're not attached to him. None of this stuff. You're going to have to try to figure out how to integrate him into your system. He's a defensive liability. You trade him away and an 8.8 rebound Tristan Thompson away. And you get back DeAndre Jordan, who is like a, what was he, 12 points, 14 rebounds, and multiple block shots. So you get a better defensive player back. You get a better offensive player back in just the centers alone. And then you get Lou Williams as well. Lou Williams, who's a better defender than Isaiah Thomas, probably a better scorer than Isaiah Thomas. And he can play off the bench. He's not going to cry about minutes. And you can rest LeBron more. And if you're the Clippers, you get some salary cap relief because you get rid of DeAndre Jordan. And your fan base doesn't get upset when you don't re-sign him. This is an excellent move for both teams, both the Cavs and the Clippers. Genius move. I love it. I love it. So what we've gone over today is we went over the Rose Bowl. We went over Georgia and Alabama slightly. So we'll finish that real quick. Georgia and Alabama, I like Alabama to win the game for two main reasons. There's two reasons I'm picking Alabama. Number one, Nick Saban, the head coach. Nick Saban is 11-0 against his disciples. That includes Jimbo Fisher, Jim McElwain, Lane Kiffin, whoever else has come from up underneath his tree, they've lost. So that's the first thing off. Second thing of is the style of play. When you see Alabama lose, they play against NFL quarterbacks. And they usually have a little bit of mobility. And Georgia's quarterback is neither mobile nor NFL ready because he's a true freshman. So those are the two things that Georgia has going against it. But Georgia does have the single best player on defense. That's Roquan Smith, the middle linebacker. The only person that Alabama has close to this dude in terms of, and they have some good players, is Mika Fitzpatrick. And he has less of an impact on the game because he's a secondary player. And Georgia has the best quarterback. But here is the thing, is that Georgia is not going to be able to run the ball the same way they do against Oklahoma because they're more well coached. They have gap integrity. They stay in their lanes. They don't do outrageous stuff like jumping around blocks. They jumped around blocks all night. That's why Georgia got all those big runs. That was poorly coached and poorly executed football. It just was. So we went over Georgia, Alabama. Went over the Pac-12, how the Pac-12 can get back in the playoffs and who's most likely to do it. The NFL quarterbacks, where you should draft them, who's the best. And also the Cavs, the Cavs contenders. You guys, thank you guys for joining me today. Unafraid Show, Reister or Wrong. George Reister here. I appreciate you guys joining me. I will catch you guys tomorrow.